Welcome back to the Royal Chronicles. I'm Hannah and here with Mustafa today. You want to say hello?
Hey everyone.
Today we're going to do sort of a special episode, but before we get to that, we want to thank everyone who's been listening, commenting, messaging, all the interactions we've been having on our various social media platforms, which if you're not following us, make sure go subscribe, keep up with what we're doing. We're very active on Instagram and TikTok, incidentally. We're hoping to kind of maybe start doing some more on YouTube and Patreon and things like that. But just a big thank you to everyone who's been listening. We've only been doing this for what, 2 months now?
2 months, and the last month we kind of been slacking because we've been moving and we had
It's been the holidays
and we've been sick and there was a lot going on. And now we just moved and now we're recording from the kitchen because the studio is not ready yet. I just posted that on TikTok.
That's right. But yeah, it's been a great 2 months and we have a lot of great ideas going forward. Luke and I have been discussing quite a few upcoming episodes, so we're excited about that. I'll get more into that later, but today we're gonna do kind of a end of year roundup, royal recap, end of year royal recap. I like that. Let's go with it. I have a few stories, some in the news. One I'm fascinated by. I just got through an entire documentary about it. It's an update on the centuries old mystery called The Princes in the Tower, which if you all have been keeping up with our episodes, you'll remember it was a big part of our inaugural episode on Richard III. Well, there's news on that front.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what we're talking about?
Yeah, and that was our first episode.
Right. So it's funny because it's the same lady, Philippa Langley, who actually discovered the remains of Richard III in the parking lot. You remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
Well, she's been working, I guess, for years now with, and my understanding is she's been assisted by over 300 amateur historians, kind of detectives, on a quest to prove that the princes in the tower, who just as a kind of a refresher, one was the 12-year-old King Edward V and his brother Richard, the Duke of York, who everyone has believed up to this point that Richard III, imprisoned them in the Tower of London, then had them killed. And that's how he became king. Well, there's all kinds of evidence that they've dug up. That is Miss Langley and her, kind of army of assistants to prove that not only were they not killed, but they lived and both kind of attempted to come back and take the throne. I really
have a question. Mm-hmm. How tall was the tower? Couldn't they just jump from the tower? I don't know. Someone really likes them, put a ladder for them so they can come down. I don't know.
Yeah, you would have thought so. I really recommend, though. I just got through the documentary. Someone very kindly posted the entire thing on YouTube because what was aired here in the States on PBS, my understanding is that it was kind of bridged, like they cut parts of it to make it shorter. Definitely go to YouTube, watch the full version. It's about an hour and a half. Definitely worth your time. And of course, draw your own conclusions. I think it's very compelling evidence. But who knows? But that leads me to, because one of the other things we talked about in our first episode was whether or not we thought the new King Charles might kind of take a different position than his mother on exhuming remains and testing the DNA and things like that.
Well, King Charles, he's just been crowned as a king. He has a lot on his plate now going on with his son, with what's going on, economy, all of that. So there's a lot going on with him. I've been following kind of Twitter, or let's say X now, page. They're just following him everywhere he goes and posting a lot of stuff about him since he's been announced as the new crown king, after the...
But don't you think something like this could really have a positive impact on his legacy?
If they give him the chance to do it, yeah.
Well, I mean, he can do it if he wants to. I think he can just say the word. There's been calls sent because of this new information that's come forward, this new evidence. I've saw several stories. I kind of looked into it. There's one lady, she's an author, I believe, a historian. Her name is Lady Antonia Fraser, and she is calling on King Charles to allow the bodies to be tested, because there are 2 remains in Westminster Abbey. Those are the bodies of 2 children that were found in the tower.
Why the king has to approve them? Why not like the prime minister or someone regarding like a museum or whatever? Where did they have the bodies, by the way? Like,
that's the thing. 2 of them, the ones that we talked about in the first episode that most people know of, are buried in Westminster Abbey. Those are the ones that were found in under the staircase in the Tower of London in like the 1600s by King Charles at that time. And he and pretty much everyone else believed those were the brothers. And so they had them buried in Westminster as royals, basically, I think. And then there were 2 other bodies that were found buried. Oh gosh, where were they? I want to say like Windsor or something. It was another location. I could be wrong. But the point is that the identities of these 4 people are not certain. Nobody really knows. But King Charles controls it because they were buried in a royal manner, and they're just
royal cemetery, like, in a way.
Yeah, royal burial, whatever. So yeah, he controls that essentially. That's my understanding.
I guess if he approved it, that's that's a mystery. Like,
I could totally see it happening, because he's a lot like his father in this respect, because they're very curious, very interested in science now, and that type of thing.
With science, and like now they can even identify a mummy.
Well, of course, and that whole story about how his father, the late Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, he I believe assisted in identifying the bodies of the Romanov family in Russia. So this would be cool for King Charles to do this.
I didn't know that with the Romanov. He helped with that.
I think so.
Wow.
Because he's related.
I was
for the maternal
working the
line.
other day on an episode about that Romanov, and was watching, and so they're saying like all those stories about Anastasia. Nah, she died with them because they found one skull like exactly the way she'd been hit in the head or something. It's identical to her, and the number of like bodies they found is matching the numbers of people who got killed.
And with that DNA testing, it just that confirmed it. All of that stuff, but whatever that lady's name was.
When was it? 1999 or 98 when they announced like no, all those stories. Whoever are pretending is there, like Anastasia coming back, whatever. They're all false, and this is the body of Anastasia because they did a DNA test on it.
Oh yeah. That's the same one that we're talking about. And it's been settled because I think they were reburied. The whole family, was it 98, 99? I want to say 99 maybe. They had like a full-on royal funeral and burial for the whole family.
I think so. Before the Soviet Union like collapsed or something like that, or
no. This was in like I say 99. I think something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen there's still some people like in Russia now loyal to the royal family, and they have like kind of small cult in a way.
Fellow royalists.
Yeah, they even had like I think the Russian government at that time allowed them to have like a kind of a funeral and stuff like that in a church, and they all were like walking in the street like kind of, you think they're protesting, but they had like the at that time their flag and the pictures of the family. All it's kind of sad.
Well, the house that the family was where they were killed, I forget what it was called. It starts with an I. Gosh, I can't think of it. But anyway, it became like a pilgrimage site of royalists who would go to like pay their respects. And eventually, was it Gorbachev, Yeltsin, one of those famous names? I can't remember. Gosh, he had it. Or basically they had it torn down to discourage people from continuing to go there. But on that site, they built a church, and they have a little section where they have kind of memorialized like the spot where they were all killed and all that. So yeah, I wouldn't call it a shrine exactly, but it's just kind of in their memory.
Wow. So yeah, back to
the Princes in the Tower. I think because after seeing that documentary and reading what I have about it, there's a lot of information. So I think Luke and I are probably going to put together an entire episode on that because it's absolutely fascinating. If all that stuff pans out, it'll be, I mean, that's huge. That's like when I remember when they found the remains of Richard III, it was international news. It was all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. So if it turns out that these kids won a king, really didn't die and then tried to come back to, claim their rightful place, and there was a whole story to it. That's amazing. And it's taken all these hundreds of years later.
I don't think they can claim now after all these years something that gonna come up. It's impossible now.
Okay. Well, you want to bet on it? We could put a little friendly wager.
Charles waited all these years to be a king, and now someone hey,
no.
my great 16th, 17th grandfather, he was supposed to be a king, but he was killed.
Well, see, that's not gonna. I don't think that's possible because they lose what they claim to have found. Tracks them into their teen years, but then there's just no way to know when they died, where. It doesn't seem like they had, if they did have families, no one has any idea about it. So
yeah, it's impossible.
It'll just be so interesting with the technology nowadays. I'd just be fascinated to know what they could dig up with DNA testing. But anyway,
yeah, I need to test my great great grandpa was a sultan or something. I don't know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Hey, why not?
Prince Ali.
All right, so moving on to actually May of this year, but also coming out of the UK, and that is we had the coronation of King Charles III, the first in the UK in over 70 years, because his mother had her coronation in 1953, 2003, kind of interesting. But I mean, that was huge.
53 to 2023, you mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Not 2003.
No. 20. Did I say 3? 20.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a long time to rule,
Yeah.
But her age, and especially she came in a time, not like now, a woman to rule as a queen,
Well, I mean, her
before World War II is different, than now. Now it's more like.
Well, there was Queen Victoria. She was the OG, let's say.
Right. Yeah, but she ruled through a lot of wars,
yeah.
How many regime been changed during her rule?
A lot of things happened at that time.
Yeah. So.
But I was looking into it, and
how many presidents the United States went through while she was a queen? That's a lot too.
Oh, it's funny. I meant to mention earlier, or not on air, but we can just throw it out there. You know how we did the episode on the Hawaiian royals, and you know how we were watching that movie the other day, Victoria and Abdul.
Yeah.
In the beginning, they're going over her schedule or people she's meeting or something like that, and they mention Queen Liliuokalani, the Hawaiian
cool.
queen, and Queen Victoria. She's like, who is that? And I thought, oh my gosh. Yeah. But it all ties together. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that was going on at the during her lifetime.
Big year in the UK.
But if you think about it, think of all the stuff that occurred during the life of Queen Elizabeth. I mean, just
a lot,
amazing things.
How many friends she lost and people she knows,
Yeah.
It's a lot. I bet you living that long is not fun too.
In a way, it'd probably be really sad, especially towards the end. But
towards the end, and she's being accused of a lot of stuff. We don't know if it's true or not, but a lot of stuff she's been accused.
I might definitely have my opinion about it,
especially with the drama that's going on lately.
Oh, that's in my list of things to talk about. So save that for later. Okay, so the coronation, some of it I knew, some of it I looked into, because I think it's just when it's been 70 years since the last event, that there's going to be some really interesting little facts to it. First of all, it is the 40th coronation to be held at Westminster Abbey since the coronation of William the Conqueror in 1066. Imagine that. 1066. 40 coronations later, and it's you. Can you imagine? I don't know. I just think stuff like that is so cool when you really give it some thought. And I remember a lot of people talking about, there was a lot of discussion because of what's going on in the world right now, the costs of living. I mean, the US is in pretty tough times. The UK, definitely the same is my understanding. Do you want to take a guess on what the coronation costs to put on this one?
In dollar or pound?
Well, it's pounds.
Pound. Let's see. I would 20 million pound.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, no.
Oh.
So what I was able to find so far is an estimate. I don't know if an official number's been put out, but it was
Because
anywhere.
remember, they have to pay even for the police and all of
Well,
that,
yeah,
security,
good thing you.
the guest list, VIPs, all of that. There's a stuff besides like
Oh
the
no, you're right.
the
That
crown and the church and like people. Even I think like for the broadcast and all of that has been paid for.
So estimates are anywhere from 50 million to 250 million.
Whoa.
To put that into perspective for you guys, okay?
How long did it last?
Oh gosh.
The event?
It was a whole day basically, more or less. But it took days and weeks and months to. Oh, that reminds me. You guys, if you're interested in this, the BBC put out a documentary that they filmed and made. It was the entire year leading up to the coronation, behind the scenes type stuff. Really interesting. I found that on YouTube also.
How about the funeral? Like the Queen funeral? Do you have any estimate how much did it cost?
I have no idea. I would suspect it costed less, but I have
Because like there's
no
people
idea.
been waiting in line like for just to for a 5 second to see the Queen.
I do know for a fact that there were more people that watched the funeral than the coronation.
Yeah, because I remember David Beckham was one of them, and he was in line waiting, even though he's a big name and he has a sir. No, he doesn't have a sir.
No, there's talk that he'd really like one, but who wouldn't?
Yeah, he didn't get one, but he was in line.
He's still
waiting.
young. He might still get one.
Yeah, he was in line, like waiting with the rest
Regular
of the
people,
regular people,
yeah.
just waiting in line to.
Have you seen the reel that is going around? I mean, I'm sure there's more than one, but showing all the different royals who turned up, from all over the world to pay their respects and all that.
Yeah,
that stuff is so cool. But to put it in comparison, what they paid for the coronation, what did I say, between 50 and 250 million pounds. Okay, Queen Elizabeth II, her coronation costs in 1953 912,000 pounds, which would be about 20.5 million today.
Boy.
Think of the difference
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, is that not wild? And her father, was it her father, George VI? Yeah, 454,000 pounds in 1937, which today would be about 24.8 million pounds. So, but they all attribute that, like you were saying, to security costs and whatnot. So yeah, it's mostly the security costs. But point being that it's my understanding that this coronation is the most expensive in the last 300 years.
Time too is different now,
But then also interesting fact, Queen Camilla, as she is now called, is the first queen consort to be crowned since Queen Elizabeth, but the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth II's mother was, as opposed to a queen in her own right, which would have been Queen Elizabeth II. But anyway, just little fun factoids like that. Okay, moving on to the next story. This is a fun one. It takes us to Jordan, the royal wedding.
Oh, right.
That was a fun event. I loved watching all that.
It was this year. I thought it was last year.
June the 1st.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was a nice one. I saw that. I saw clips of it and the people that came.
Oh, that brings me to, I was going to talk about, there's a whole list of the people that attended. It is amazing. I mean, basically all royalty you can possibly imagine, heads of state.
States, a lot of,
amazing stuff. But I loved watching that just for, the fashion. That was fabulous.
Especially when they wore like kind of a traditional costume, and it was good. There was some pictures and like stuff that they showed the king was bored in a way, King Abdullah, while he was standing. I don't know if you've seen those or not.
I
He was
didn't
not
know.
tired. Like they showed him, oh, he's tired. He cannot. But just imagine how many people he had to handshake, and
Oh
some
my
of them
gosh,
had to,
yeah.
like, as a tradition, like they kiss on the cheek or whatever, and he had to do all of that. Yeah, he will be tired
Well, imagine
for his
because
age too.
you're having to
Standing.
greet and receive all of these other royals, which is it's a different level than just, regular people just protocol. Imagine you're not just greeting them, you're making small talk and probably trying to remember
Yeah,
names and
the
details.
Crown Prince in Jordan. I lived there. They loved him. I've seen him once in a movie theater, and I think that was
What
2010
movie was it?
or 11. What movie was it? I think it was The Dark Knight Rises, which is, I think, no, not The Dark Knight Rises. It was in 2000. Yeah, 2012 when I was there. That's when I've seen him, but I don't remember which movie. And I wasn't in the same theater with him. Like, he was there, he was watching the movie, I think, like with his friends and stuff like that. They had a lot of bodyguards. But friend of mine at that time when I used to do the acting and stuff, that dude, he was doing it before me, like long time before me. And he's from there, he's Jordanian, and he went and he said hi to the prince at that time. I couldn't go with him. But the same year, I've seen Prince King Charles. But when he was a prince, he came to Jordan, and they had that kind of a summit in Jordan for like businesses and economy between Jordan and UK. It was me and a friend of mine, which was a drummer with me at the band. But when we used to do like events and marketing and stuff, we got invited to that work because we were a small company at that
So
time.
you've seen the now king.
Yep,
Cool.
I've seen him, but from far away, like, because
It still counts.
yeah, it was big, but he looks bigger on TV.
I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's very difficult to tell someone's stature by how they appear on a screen usually.
He looks bigger on TV. I don't know, maybe the nose. I have no clue, but he looks bigger on TV. But in real life, he's just like normal, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes without saying that because I believe Prince William is quite tall, and he must have definitely got that from his mother. She was quite tall. I think she was like 5'11" or something.
Yeah. King Abdullah is not tall, but his wife, Queen Rania, she's tall. I've seen her too.
And she's always wearing those killer heels, so she's
Heels,
even taller.
Yeah, she's tall and she's thin and like really, like representative in a way.
Oh, she's fabulous.
I've seen her in an event. It was during Ramadan, and they were doing collection for like charities and stuff. At that time, I worked, volunteered at that time with a charity for cancer, like a cancer foundation over there, and it was the one of the princesses, which is the king's sister. She had that foundation, and it's been made because of her late dad, the King Hussein. He died of cancer, so they made that foundation after his name. So we were collecting, and Queen Rania came at that time for the event. That was the highlight.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but the princess, Princess Alia, I worked with her on that event, and then we did the kind of a marathon in a way, but it wasn't running. It was kind of like walking and stuff in an area, like a big park, and they had all those orphans came. It was food and stuff at that time. I think that was 2012 or 11 at that time. It was cool too.
Well, I tell you, with respect to the wedding, I don't know if you agree with me, but the best part was watching all the fashion.
Yeah.
And do you know who took the cake for me? And it's not Queen Rania, and it's not the Princess of Wales. Shocking. Did you see what? Okay, I might get her name wrong. She is the wife of one of the wives of the Emir of Qatar, Moza bin Nasser.
Oh.
Did you see her?
Queen Moza.
Oh my word.
You know,
speechless.
Okay.
I was
So
stunned.
that woman,
Fabulous.
she is one of the best business women in the world.
She is gorgeous.
She's the one who proposed the World Cup to be in Qatar and got accepted. She's the one who went and represent that. Look it up.
Oh, I have no idea. I just
She
saw what
is
she was
so
wearing
rich.
and I thought, girlfriend,
you just
work
don't
it.
want to think how much money she has.
Oh, I know.
Just don't even think about looking how much money she has.
No.
She is so rich. She's the one who, like when they were doing, for the representation, who's gonna host the World Cup at that time, and she represent Qatar, and she won over David Beckham and some other like famous players. I think Pelé was one of them, to talk about Brazil. But I know her.
Did you see what she showed up in? Look at that.
Wow. I like the color of it.
It's amazing. When you see it, look up a video because it's even better.
Yeah.
This is just a still photograph. Oh my goodness. Anyway, she stole the show in my opinion. It's almost borderline. Like it's too much.
So
you're taking away from the
issue
pride.
Is,
Not
here's
really.
the thing.
Not really.
She has money, but all of those queens and kings over there in that region, they feel jealous from each other. So they were like, you know what? You build the highest building in the world. I'm gonna host the World Cup. And
they're trying to one up each other.
And they built those stadiums that can float on water, and then they gave it away to some third world countries and stuff like that.
Wow. Anyway, she was just the star of the show for me. I mean, the bride was beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but man, what a dress.
Her name Moza mean banana. I'm
Banana?
not joking. Moza mean banana.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm just a name.
It's fruit.
I mean, and look what she's wearing. She looks like a banana.
No, it's like a awesome, almost neon green looking thing.
It's a banana from Fortnite. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. No. Okay, so we're moving from Jordan to a little more salacious gossip to Denmark. Do you remember this story? We covered it on Tea and Shenanigans, but it's worth talking about because people are still discussing it. There's still articles coming out about it. The scandal with the Crown Prince of Denmark. Do you remember that whole story?
No.
In Spain and all that?
Can you?
Okay, so I won't go into the whole thing. If you want to hear the whole story, Luke and I go into detail on Teen Shenanigans over on Patreon. But this has been, it's probably been months ago at this point. Crown Prince Frederick was in Spain. There's photographs and whatever of him with this other lady. His wife's nowhere around. He goes into her apartment, comes out the next day. There's all this stuff, but there's a lot of details going on. It's kind of like, who knows? The point is that Denmark is usually very scandal free, but the development to that was that Crown Princess Mary, his wife, went to Australia, which is her home country, to visit her family, but left him at home. And there was an article I read where people saw her at the airport like she was crying or something. And there's just been a lot of stuff floating around. You know, you don't want to be too gossipy, but it seems a little, I don't know. It's just uncharacteristic of the Danes, let's put it that way. But then it also leads into, I saw an article where people are speculating as to whether or not, and this could just be idle chatter, whether or not perhaps the Queen of Denmark might, step aside in favor of her son or something like that. I don't know. And if that's true, how would that go given, the, I don't know, the negative stories, let's put it that way. But I think it's newsworthy because, as I say, that type of stuff doesn't really happen much there. Who knows? It might just be chatter, but that's what's going on in Denmark. And it made the headlines for a while, at least in the royal world.
Right, yeah. You don't hear much about the royals over there.
That's why I say they're very quiet, very kind of unassuming. That's what makes it kind of unusual.
Yeah.
But then there's also the story, it's much more recent, of, and I don't want to get too tea and shenanigansy, if that's a word on here.
We're just,
but it did make the news. That the ex-brother-in-law of the Queen of Spain, Letizia, claims that they were romantically involved before he married her sister. And he claims that they continued to be romantically involved even after she married the king. But I read about it. It sounds like a bunch of nonsense to me, like some, ex-family member that's trying to get attention or something. I don't know. But that's going on in Spain, and they don't need any more because, that's another episode Luke and I want to do. We haven't gotten around to it yet. All the stuff that's gone on with the Spanish royals. But on a more positive note, I must say that their daughter, what is her name? I'm going to get this wrong. Infanta Eleanor. I should know this. But anyway, she is basically the crown princess. Like, she will be queen one day, queen in her own right. Very impressive young lady. Very, very, very impressive. I've seen some stories and like her going to events and things like that. She's very young, but I think Spain will be in good hands. But that's positive for them. Anyway, we're getting on to, I guess we're going back to the British because...
Are we going to talk about Spare or no?
I was going to say, we cannot have a recap without...
There's a lot to talk about those two couples.
Okay.
Starting from...
I was going to talk about the book Endgame, which was put out by Omid Scobie, which... I mean, I'm sorry. Regardless of which side you fall on in
we're not going to go in details because all of that, we talked about it in Team Shenanigans. So if you guys want to hear the full stories about these...
Yeah, we're just kind of glossing over here.
Go to our Patreon. All those episodes are there,
We get into detail. I do not hold back. We do not hold back. Right, so it's been... I don't know. Well, Hollywood Reporter said it was a losing year for Harry and Meghan. I guess everyone has their own opinion about that. But let's recap. Let's see. There was it this year or was it technically last year where they had their Netflix documentary, Harry and Meghan?
It was released this year, I believe.
Or was it last year?
I can look it up.
I don't even remember at this point. So much has happened since then. Then you had Harry's book, Spare. Which was, oh my goodness, the things that came out of that. Then... there's been a lot of little stories that have come out here and there. Hard to tell what's real and what's not. And then you most recently had Omid Scobie's book Endgame, which my understanding, everything that I've heard, it doesn't sound like it's very credible.
Oh, I'm sorry. It released 8 and 15th of December 2022.
Okay, so I thought so. It's been a while.
Exactly a year. Wow.
But that kind of got us started.
And it got 5 out of 10 at IMDb.
Well, I guess really what started this whole rat's nest was the Oprah interview.
Talking about, I remember paparazzis when the photographer was like, no, they hired me to take that picture from the top.
Remember? Oh, and that's happened over and over and over again.
The gala incident, like in New York when they went to New York,
the quote unquote car chase. To be honest, I already had fairly strong opinions up to that point. I remember the morning that I got up and I just started going through just headlines, news to see what was going on, and that popped up. And my first thought was, wait a second, that sounds very familiar. And then as the day went on, more and more people came. You had the mayor of New York. You had, who was it? Whoopi Goldberg on The View. All kinds of people were like,
cab driver. He said, like, there's nothing.
Like, what are you talking about? First of all, you cannot have a car chase in Manhattan. It cannot happen. I don't even think you have to have gone there or been there to know that. So there was just like red flags all over the place. And ever since then, I feel like they've just had bad luck after bad luck. You had the Spotify deal that fell through.
Well, she made a kind of a podcast.
She had a podcast. She did one season. I forget how many episodes. I tried to listen to an episode. I don't want to be unnecessarily negative. It wasn't my thing. Some people might have enjoyed it. I don't know. Not really. Just not my topic, interest, whatever. But the point is, it didn't work out, so they lost that deal. They still have Netflix, and from what I understand, the rights to a book have been purchased for them, I guess through their production company Archwell, to make a movie.
Harry's book, or
no, it's like a novel that they purchased the rights to make a film. I don't know what stage of production that's in or whatever, but that's all I've heard. There might be other things going on, but my deal with that whole mess is, we can talk about, you can make fun of, i.e. South Park.
That's a different thing. And we talked about it in an episode.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And, they tried to sue them.
I don't know.
But when it was like kind of a podcast, when they asked the producers of South Park, they're like, well, we have around 1,000 of cases on us. So
they don't care.
Bring it on. Because they can't prove a thing that's just them. Because in South Park, they showed it as if they were the royal Canadian family and all of that. They did not mention anything about England or their names. Oh. Even though everything is like, yep, it's them. But
speaking of legal, that reminds me. And again, we're not getting deep into anything. That is for teen shenanigans. But in one of our episodes, we talked about the legal battle that's going on between Meghan Markle and her sister, Samantha, her half-sister. There's developments on that front. And all I'm going to say is it's entirely possible that Meghan could be deposed, like have to give deposition. So there's developments on that front. We need to do a new episode and update because there's stuff going on with that.
That's one of the headlines of this year for her.
Anyway,
and the latest thing, like from, sorry, my watch. The latest thing from this month, the ad she was in.
Okay, yeah, the business that she's an investor in a coffee company. It's one of those, it's like powdered coffee with mushrooms or something. It's some kind of health deal. I don't really know. I mean, it could be a good product. I have no idea. I think it's called Clever Brand, something like that. Yeah, and she's in this little Instagram ad where she's, I guess,
working in the background,
like she's supposed to be an intern or something, and whatever. I'm gonna risk it and give my honest opinion. And that while I agree that it was a little odd, a little strange, at the same time, I mean, it's not the worst idea. She's a famous person. People, I mean, the fact that everybody's talking about it, I'd say on their part, mission accomplished. That's the whole idea. It got people looking at their stuff. That's the whole point. I've heard a lot of people ragging on her about it. And as I say, she stirs up a lot of strong feelings and whatever. So perhaps if she was less controversial of a figure, it would have been more, oh, that's so cute, or that's, whatever. But because it's her, it's going to be this big controversial thing.
One other thing that happened to those couple too is giving up their, there was talk about Harry losing his...
the titles?
The titles.
Yeah.
The word.
My opinion on that is...
It is still going. Like, till now, there's no clear answer, nothing about it.
I'm going to just say right now, I don't think it will ever happen. It will never happen.
Yeah, I don't think King Charles will be like, nah, you lost your... Because they're going to be just like, there's a wedding, something, you can come. Other than that, stay in California.
Well, speaking of a wedding, you've heard that they have not been invited to... Oh gosh, is it the Duke of Westminster? Something like that. He's like one of the most eligible bachelor. He's getting married next summer, but it's also important because not only is he the godfather to a child or children of the Prince and Princess of Wales, he is the godfather to Harry's oldest son, Archie. But Meghan and Harry were not invited to the wedding. So go figure. Yeah, there's just so much bad blood. But to the titles, as I say, I don't think it's ever going to happen. There is I think they're referred to as a backbencher, an MP over there who's trying to, I guess, get legislation through to strip Harry of his dukedom, the Duke of Sussex title. But I don't know if we've talked, I think it must have been on Teen Shenanigans. We talked about how even if they did that, Harry would still be a prince because he was born a prince. Yeah. And basically it would, King Charles would have to strip him of that, which it will absolutely never happen.
So how about we take a break from the royals and talk about our podcast plans for next year?
Oh yes, let's.
So, we started this as a hobby.
It's still a hobby.
It's still a hobby.
We do this for our own amusement.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, it's turned into quite an educational experience. The things that I have learned just in preparation for these episodes, for future episodes, it's so interesting.
It is, yeah. What do we have for next year?
Well,
Since like now we're kind of finally done with moving.
Yeah, we're gonna get on them, be a little bit more
Active.
structured. Yeah. So 2023 was the birth of the Royal Chronicles. Hopefully, we'll look back on this year as the beginning of something really great. I think it's already been something great for me anyway. But yeah, it's only been since October. We have 6 episodes
And we have
down.
like day jobs at the same time.
Oh
both
gosh,
of
more
us.
than one.
Yeah, so we have like day jobs. So this is just a side thing, not for money or anything. We're just like for fun, you know. Everyone is busy. Like we can barely even see Luke.
Oh yeah, Luke.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, our next actual episode, he's going to be here.
Yeah, I will try to drag him, but he's like just busy.
Yeah. Oh, well, that brings me to something we are going to be doing. Kind of, well, it's the podcast, but it'll probably be on the YouTube platform. We are looking to create some fun content. One, for just as an example, Luke and I were discussing this. We're going to, because Luke, I think I mentioned on a previous episode, he owns a coffee company. He is a formerly trained barista, not like a former barista, like he's been formally trained. I can't speak English. Oh my gosh. We could talk in pig Latin or something. Anyway, and utilizing his skills and his very cute little shop, we are thinking of doing, we're going to do a video. Tell me what you think about this. I looked up the favorite beverages of various royals. And this is, you know, like coffee, tea, things like that, because, you know, alcohol, maybe that'd have to be another episode. But, we're going to be doing some fun stuff like that. And it's probably going to be a video rather than just audio. So stuff like that's probably going to show up on YouTube, Instagram. Yeah, that's one we have planned. And it involves Queen Elizabeth II, the current Princess of Wales, and Marie Antoinette. Interesting little trio we got going on there. But that's going to be kind of an addition to the content we're already producing.
Yep. So that's a new thing. We'll have more episodes coming to YouTube as well. What else? We planning on Teen Shenanigan.
Yeah, I'm gonna be kicking that into high gear now that we're done moving and because it seems like every day there's something new to talk about.
By end of January, I was thinking, or maybe mid of February, we'll have a live maybe session, Q&A or something like that. We'll see.
Yeah, Luke and I were discussing potential topics for upcoming episodes, you know, formal episodes here on the podcast. And some of the royal families we are probably going to be talking about fairly soon will be the royal families of Bhutan, Egypt, Japan, and one that I've really gotten into lately, reading about the Austro-Hungarian Empire or the Habsburg dynasty. There's so much material there, really interesting stuff. And those are just examples, but those are some of the ones that we're talking about. But due to the popularity of one of our episodes, the House of Grimaldi, which, you know, is Monaco, we are going to be, I think, doing a multi-part series on Monaco, the princely family of Monaco, kind of going over more of their history, more time periods and things like that, because a lot of people really enjoyed that one.
One of the things we said we're gonna talk about, like reviews for the shows and
thank you for reminding me, Luke and I,
like that, yeah,
or maybe all three of us. Why not?
I'm the one who watch movies.
No. The Crown. We're gonna recap the Crown, and not just the new season. We're gonna do the whole thing.
That's on you.
I know.
Since I watched like clips of the Crown, not the Crown, the whole thing.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a full recap.
Yeah.
That'll take some time, but it'll be fun because Luke, as I'm sure you all have picked up by now, he's an encyclopedia. He knows the real history of these families and this stuff. So he'll be able to, you know, when we're watching, he'll be like, that didn't happen, or that did happen, or whatever. And I'm going to be the one going like, oh my gosh, their costumes are so spot on. You know, that's going to be, that's the dynamic we have going on here.
So I've seen some pictures the other day. There's a group. It's kind of really interesting. I joined. They take like people goes to movie scenes or films, series like famous ones, and they take exactly pictures where they were like those movies were filmed, and some people are taking pictures of where the from the like was the Crown, the show, and they were comparing it with actual footage from real life events. It's exactly the same. The like clothes, decorations, everything. You know,
See, that's the
few
allure of the
movement and
show.
stuff like that is different.
That's how they get you. See, it really is very fictional, very loose, in my opinion, very loosely based on the historical facts. But the aesthetics, like you're saying,
Don't get me wrong, but I've seen that in more than one project by like British media or whatever. They're good at that. Like probably we don't understand their comedy in a way.
oh, I love British humor.
Stuff.
Oh my gosh,
But
I love their stuff.
have you seen their like shows, movies, and stuff? How interesting it is.
Yeah, I grew up on that.
The trash now we have on the American TV, like just like every 5 people who went to school somewhere, hey, how about we make a show? And they will make a show like a lot of actors. While their actors, I would say 90% of the British actors, they go to theater first before they become like movie and series actors and stuff. Well, here it's just like whoever, yeah, you're gonna be in a movie. They don't know.
Oh
what's
god,
going
no,
on.
I really enjoy programming on the BBC. What's that add-on Amazon? BritBox.
Even what's called Abby. You watched that show, remember?
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey was good.
It was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people loved it. I mean, it was all right. But yeah, I really enjoy basically anything British.
Right. So those the
Productions.
updates we're gonna have for the podcast.
Yeah.
And anyone have any suggestion? Again, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the
One of the
families I listed is based on suggestions.
One of the highlights of the podcast this year. Remember the reel you posted and got viewed by the.
Oh, yeah. How did I forget that? Yeah, our one of our stories on Instagram got viewed by the official account of the Prince and Princess of Wales. I had to do a double take or a triple take or something. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And I'm sure that that's not like a rare thing, but for me, it was cool. So yeah, that was a thing.
And what else we have for a recap for 2023 before we head to 2024?
That's all I have. Can you think of anything else?
Regarding Royals, at the moment, no. I mean, I think you covered most of it.
I mean, there's other things, but
yeah, we're gonna have.
Oh, I know.
Oh, what?
Sarah Ferguson, also known as
that?
Fergie. You know, she was married to Prince Andrew.
Oh,
formerly,
okay.
Formerly the Duchess of York.
When you said Fergie, I thought Fergie the singer.
No. Get your mind out of the American gutter. Oh, no. So.
Fergie is not American. The singer from Black Eyed Peas.
Well, I mean, that's what.
Oh, she's American?
I'm pretty sure she is. I don't know.
Then why she was taking a British accent? But I remember when
she could
the
be,
NBA game when she sang
that's
the
how
national
little that I
anthem,
know of.
You know,
that's how little I know of her and them. I just assume she's American. Black Eyed Peas, whatever. Anyway, so Sarah Ferguson actually joined the family for Christmas for the first time in, what did I read, 20 some odd years, 25
yes,
plus
she's
years.
An American singer. I just found out.
So that's kind of an interesting thing. She joined the whole family. They do that traditional, walk to church on Christmas Day thing, and she hasn't been seen doing that in over 2 decades. So there's that.
And back to Fergie, the singer. I didn't know her husband is Josh Duhamel, the actor. You know him if you see him. He's been into a lot of stuff.
You have some examples off the top of your head?
Yeah. Remember that movie Safe Heaven and the Life as We Know It, when him and what's her name, their friends, like, and his wife died, and they made him like kind of godfather for their kid or something to take over the kid, and they raise the kid. We've seen that movie. 100%.
Gosh, I can't. I really can't remember.
Look it up. We've seen it.
maybe vaguely. I don't know. But yeah, that's not the Fergie I had
He had
reference
the
to.
famous movie. It's like Won a Date with Ted.
Okay, that one I remember. Oh,
Yeah, he
Lord.
was that actor or something.
I shudder to think we're talking about this on this podcast. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Reel it back in.
So, and when you say Fergie, I will think about Alex Ferguson because they named him Fergie too. So,
Nope.
Anyway.
In the royal world, Fergie is. Anyway.
Well, he's a sir, so he kind of royalty too. So, yeah.
Football royalty.
Football royalty.
Him and David Beckham, even if Beckham doesn't have a knighthood yet.
Yeah. Because he won a lot for England, like the name and all of that. So he won that.
Well, and my understanding is that because he and Victoria used to be on friendly terms with Harry and Meghan, and word is now that they're they've gone their separate ways, which is probably to the Beckham's advantage if they want to get a knighthood. He wants to get a knighthood.
I would say yes, but at the same time, Beckham was at the funeral of the Queen, and he stood like for.
That's what I'm saying. By not being friends with Harry and Meghan anymore, they're probably, more friendly with the actual royal family.
Probably, yeah.
Anyway, that's just a little side note. Don't want to necessarily end on that, but we might just have to. Mm-hmm. You got anything else I've forgotten?
I'm thinking about what we have in royalty. What's something maybe we talked about it on the podcast before. We're gonna do is about like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's another one.
Mm-hmm. That's a one coming. We talked about Iran. That was interesting. There's a lot of information I personally didn't know about, and we talked about. Iraq, we talked about France, so
UK, Monaco, Hawaii.
Hawaii we talked about. I was thinking about Napoleon maybe.
Another French episode? Why not? Hey,
why not?
Let's do it.
Napoleon with what's going on now with the movie and how the British version of the movie, the French are not liking because the way they show Napoleon.
Well, the British and the French have been...
Yeah,
it's been a centuries-long thing.
A lot of information different, like and facts. They changed.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie yet.
I seen the reviews. I didn't see it yet because the time it came out, we had a baby. We couldn't go to the movie theater. But
darn, interrupted our movie viewing schedule.
But yeah,
I also want to get into because there's so much material, and it's always fascinated me. The czars of Russia. There's a lot going on there that we can talk about.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, the world of royal history, it just goes on and on. But yeah, that's some of what we have coming up. Hopefully we'll get on a more regular schedule. I'm absolutely determined to do it one way or the other. But that's what's coming up on the podcast. As we said, there's going to be, like I said, I'm going to get a little more serious about Tea and Shenanigans on Patreon. And of course, that's where we do our deep dive, in-depth, gossipy stuff. And it's a little more kind of week by week, depending on what comes up. And then, as I say, I think we're going to start trying to develop some visual content that we can have on YouTube and Instagram and things like that. But it's all royal related. It's going to be some historical stuff. Some of it's going to be a little bit more fun and frivolous, but something for everyone if you think about it. But that's what we got. That's what we have to look forward to in 2024. Can you believe it's going to be 2024?
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day because I saw a post. It was an old ad from, I want to say Best Buy, which is an electronics store, and it was something about don't forget to turn off your computer on New Year's Eve 1999, because do you remember that whole thing about Y2K? I
remember that,
because
there was a movie about it too.
Really?
Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones, I think, called Trap, and it was filmed in Malaysia, and it was showing when all about like when 1999 is gonna change to 2000. Everyone was afraid that technology,
people thought planes were gonna like fall out of the sky. absolutely nothing happened, as we all know.
Yeah, because they didn't know like the computers and.
But my point is that was 24 years ago.
24 years ago, yeah, that's
unbelievable.
Crazy. Oh, and yeah,
I remember that, and somehow I'm still only 25 years old.
Wow. Yeah, that was a long time for me. Well,
anyway,
yeah, I mean,
just kidding.
Think about it. We were on our honeymoon 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This time, we came this time. Yeah,
Yeah,
we went and came by Christmas time. So yeah, I mean, that's what's going on with the podcasts, and we'll try to upload more on YouTube as well. It's just because since we have like the Spotify deal and Amazon Music, it's not easy to upload till like 2 or 3 weeks an episode. That's the deal. So we'll try like to have more content on Spotify and Amazon, so we can be able to upload the old ones.
And we're discussing possibly going to Apple Podcasts as well, but that, information coming. We're going to do that. So
far, with Apple Podcasts, I didn't hear a lot of like the listeners wants to switch to there. I don't know why, but most of people use nowadays like Spotify with all of their deals and stuff. But we can do it. It's the same thing. It won't take probably extra 2 minutes from my time to upload it there, but we'll do it.
All right. Anyway, well, as always, thank you all for joining us, for listening, for your time. We really appreciate it because, as we say, a lot of this we're kind of doing it for our own amusement, for fun. And I just assume I'm talking to myself. So anybody that's out there listening and enjoys it, we really appreciate it. We're glad you're here. Hopefully you'll stick with us for next year. And it's just going to get better and better as we go along, as we're finding our way and figuring out how we're going to continue on with this year. But we're here for the long haul. So join us. If you know someone that you think would be interested in the topics that we address, someone that just likes royalty, have them check us out. But in the meantime, stick with us here. We'll be here. And also, I'm going to go through the whole thing. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok. Did I miss anything?
Amazon
Music. Amazon. Well, of course. You're probably on one of those right now if you're listening to this. But anyway, like, subscribe, follow, all of the things. You know the drill. And in the meantime, we will be here making the best royal content possible. Join us next time.
And don't forget, Happy New Year and celebrate wisely. Drive safe. I don't know.
Absolutely. No. Enjoy your family. Spend time with them. Tell them you love them. Tell them to listen to Royal Chronicles.
Right. Yeah. Share
That's how you show your love. Huh? That's how you show your love.
Yep. Show your support by sharing it with your friends and family.
And check us out on Patreon. Very important.
Yep. If you want more extra content, shenanigan, as we said, like anything, just let us know over there. And we took the price down again over there for the holidays.
That's right.
So you have till mid of January make use of our, I think it's $3 now for membership.
That's your department. I have no idea.
I don't remember what I had for
that
breakfast today. Right. So, but yeah, I think it's $3. I took it to the minimum now.
Worth every penny.
Again, thank you for listening, and happy holidays and happy New Year.
Talk to you next time.
Bye.
The Royal Chronicles is written and produced by Hannah Mohana and Luke Haney. Executive producer Mustafa Mohana.